Subchapter 4.6. Rick hopped down from the Deuce's rear exit ramp, having come to rest on a crumpled roof structure. He came forward as the guard detail fell back, leaving their lead officer behind to talk. Rick brushed the water from his face.
"Hey, how's it going? Nice weather we're having, ain't it?"
The officer narrowed his eyes on Rick.
"Who are you?"
"My name's Mick. Mick Jagger." He looked around at the fractured rooftop.
"Sorry I broke your building."
"If it was your purpose to come here to break buildings, Mr. Jagger, you have succeeded beyond all expectations."
"Right. Okay, what I'm really here for, I came to do a little business, Mr. Major Omen." "Just what business did you have in mind?" "Yeah, you see the woman you guys were just bringing out, the blonde? I want to buy her. That property has already been sold."
"Yeah, I know I'm a little late for the auction, but I think you know as well as I. Everything is up for negotiation. Mr. Jagger, my responsibility in this house is merchandise security. If you wish to speak with someone in sales, I'm sure a meeting can be arranged."
"Right. A meeting."
"In the meantime, we may discuss compensation for the damage you caused to our rooftop." Major Oman gave a hand signal, and a new group of guards emerged from the holding area. They made their way to Oman and Rick. "As you seem prepared to make a substantial purchase of a high-value worker, I would expect you to have sufficient funds for our roof." Rick looked at the guards approaching. "Not quite what I had in mind." A new figure pushed through the guards, taking the center of attention, his voice clear and with purpose. He held his staff in one hand as the rain bounced off his head. "And just what did you have in mind, Mr. Mick Jagger?" "Mr. Jagger and I were discussing terms of payment for the damage he caused to the rooftop," Omen said. Rick recognized the man, the human with the staff, who had been inspecting the crates on the loading dock the night before. For a moment, he was speechless. "You seem surprised to see me, Mr. Jagger," Diggs said. "Just not expecting to see another human on this planet." Diggs turned to Omen. "Thank you, Major. I'll take over from here." "He's all yours." Oman headed for the holding area where the others had taken Sarah. "I think the rooftop is the least of our concerns, don't you think, Mr. Jagger?" "Exactly what I was thinking, Mr. Diggs. You may call me Diggs. Now getting down to business. What brings you here in such spectacular fashion?" "You said it. Business. I'm here to buy that woman, the property you guys were walking out here." "That is not possible. She has already been sold, and this house will not smear its reputation by double-selling its merchandise." Rick stepped closer to Diggs and lowered his voice so he could not be overheard. "Listen, Diggs, I got one of those cases you were checking out last night. You and I both know what's in it. How about we meet somewhere? Just you and me. Not here. Someplace discreet. You give me the woman. You get the case. No questions asked. You keep it. Nabu writes it off." "How exquisitely underhanded, Mr. Jagger. I admire your creativity, but your offer carries more risk than I am willing to take." "Okay, 2 cases. How about 2 of those?" Rick heard QR's voice in his radio receiver implants. "Rick, I thought that one was mine."
"Pay you back later,"
Rick mumbled so as not to be overheard. This time, Diggs gave it a moment's thought. "This woman means a great deal to you. Why?"
"I like blondes."
Diggs smiled. "I'm sure you do, but there's much more going on here than hair color, yes? How about this?" Diggs gave a hand signal to his guards behind him. "A counteroffer, Mr. Jagger." Diggs stepped aside, revealing 2 of his guards pushing Catherine forward. Shinpo, still holding Maji, stood a little further back at the rear. Rick stared at Catherine, speechless. Diggs smiled at Rick.
"Might I interest you in a brunette instead?"
Rick had no answer for Diggs.
Behind the control boxes, Odie's EMP-induced sleep mode timed out and he reactivated.
He rose to his feet, and when he had reoriented himself, he noticed the group of guards and Diggs near the sundog.
"I believe you two know each other,"
Diggs said. Rick nodded at Catherine. Catherine. Catherine returned the nod. Rick. Diggs's brows went up. Ah, it's Rick now? Well, whoever you are and your friend in that ship behind you, we're going to get to the bottom of all this drama. Diggs's voice made a dark turn to malevolence. Now call down your associate this minute, Mr. Rick. We are all going to have a little talk. Rick weighed his chances. He had his rifle slung over his shoulder and his pistol in its holster at his hip. He faced at least a dozen armed guards and Diggs, who had his staff in one hand and a device in the other. He could not identify the tech in his hand, and therefore had to consider it a weapon. Diggs' patience wore thin. Let me be clear, Mr. Rick. The blonde woman you want. Until she has been delivered to her owner, she is never out of danger. It would be a shame if she were to experience some accident of some kind, some tragic calamity. Maybe she got shot while trying to escape, or she fell off the top of the building. Yes, I have that power, Mr. Rick. Do not underestimate me. Rick had no answer. He felt his heart race as he grew nervous. Diggs watched him. Call your friend down and drop your weapons. Now. The guards settled into a preparatory stance, shifting their feet and bringing their guns to the ready. Rick noticed. He had no other option but to play his last card, the one he would rather keep in his hand. He activated his orals. QR, that thing we were talking about? The thing that I said I hope it doesn't come to? Yeah, it's come to that. QR's answer was quick. Good luck, Rick. A whir of motors and all eyes went to AC Ducey. From beneath its nose, a pair of doors flew open, and the Garrison twin Gatling guns dropped out and aimed directly at Diggs and his guards. The Gatlings spun as they activated and heated up, sending a spray of hot plasma droplets to the rooftop. Everyone heard the sizzles as the plasma hit the puddles of rainwater, sending up puffs of steam. Diggs stared. His voice lost its air of sanctimonious sarcasm. I'm impressed, Mr. Rick. Judging by the sound of Diggs's voice, Rick did not question his sincerity. He raised his voice loud enough to be heard by all the guards. Yeah, you might want to tell your men to stand down. I don't think I need to explain to you what happens when you get hit by that gun, what that does to a body. I've been in battles in the past, Diggs. I've seen it. Let's just say they couldn't find all the pieces, so they can put them in a bag to send home for their families to bury. Do we understand each other? Catherine watched. She, too, was impressed, but did not share the nervous apprehension that spread through Diggs and his guards. The guards exchanged glances and shifted on their feet, ready to run. Some had already taken a step back on instinct. Their body armor might as well have been sheets of paper against the Garrison's. Odie now moved up to join the others near Rick and came to a standstill. He transmitted a message. Catherine, what do we do? Quiet, Odie, don't distract me. Catherine took a quick and discreet glance on either side of her, mapping out the area where one person stood in relation to another. Rick, Diggs, Odie, the guards, Shinpo, and Maji in the back. Though she did not like Maji's presence here, she calculated her chances of neutralizing the hostiles in quick fashion before any harm could be inflicted on the girl. There were no guarantees, but the evac area had to be secured before the landers arrived, now moments away. That much was certain. If the zone was not secured before the landers showed up, she could expect a high number of casualties. Diggs took a breath to maintain his composure. Mr. Rick, you do realize you are in the line of fire if your friend pulls the trigger on that gun. I trust his aim. It appears we have reached an impasse. Rick looked past Diggs' shoulder. You might want to get those civilians out of here. I have no intention of doing so. Whatever happens, it's on your head. Hand her over, Diggs. Rick stared at him. Diggs stared back, each not giving any ground to the other. Catherine watched the nearest guard to her, saw he was a few feet from her, how he stood with his rifle. She saw that his weak side, his left, was facing her, and that she was in his blind spot. She knew the most effective maneuver to disarm him. Catherine focused not on the guard, but the smart cuffs on her wrists. She connected to the device's circuitry and sent the command, unlock. The very instant her cuffs popped open, Catherine's fast twitch muscles sprang into action, lunging at the guard, reaching in with one hand, slipping in and grabbing the stock, the other, the hand grip. She leveraged the gun up and out of the guard's hands in one twisting motion. All that in a split second. Before anyone could react, Catherine stood with the rifle up to her eye, sweeping across the guards. Her commanding voice shouted, "All of you, drop your weapons! Now!" Rick dropped back and went into a crouch, slinging his rifle from his shoulder into his hands. He focused on what he considered his biggest threat, not Catherine, but Diggs and the guards. Diggs also fell back, looking for cover, a light pillar or a control box. There were none nearby. He clutched the tech in his hand and stared at Catherine. The guards were slow to respond to Catherine's order, prompting her to reassert herself. "I said drop your weapons!" They glanced at each other, looking for someone to take the lead, unsure. That left Diggs no choice but to give them an example to follow. He raised his hand, bringing the EMP emitter to bear on Catherine. Catherine was a split second ahead of Diggs and launched herself in a standing cartwheel just as Diggs shot off a beam of energy in her direction, missing his target. Catherine landed on both feet, unharmed. Diggs adjusted his aim and set to fire again, but Catherine was faster. She pulled the trigger and fired off several rounds on Diggs. Her aim was flawless, and Diggs took the rounds straight into his chest. He collapsed to the floor, lifeless, the EMP emitter falling from his hand. The stunned guards all went for their guns. Many fired out of sheer panic, scattering gunfire in all directions. Odie hit the deck, flattening himself as much as possible to avoid the searing bolts of energy flying overhead. Catherine turned her gun on the guards and proceeded to take them out as fast as possible. She was surprised to see a second shooter firing on the guards. Rick had his gun set on full automatic and mowed down guards no matter if they were aiming at him or not. He fired on a grouping in the middle and did not stop until the last one dropped. As Catherine was not prone to tunnel vision in intense life-and-death situations, she saw the whole scene playing out. Rick firing on the guards, his targets falling, and the two figures in the rear who were in the line of fire. Catherine saw both Shinpo and Maji go down. At the same moment, a new horde of guards poured through the doors. Rick saw them as well. "QR, new baddies! Light 'em up!" QR's answer was quick as Widowmaker whirred to life, spitting hot plasma bolts at the guards coming through the exits. The garrisons ate up the guards and the surrounding structures, chewing up the area to bits. Any remaining guards still alive fell back into a state of terror. Though she was not near the line of fire, Catherine ducked. She saw the destruction the Gatling guns had rendered in just seconds, but her thoughts were elsewhere. She looked to see where Shinpo and Maji had fallen. No one was getting back to their feet. She looked over to Rick, who had stopped to watch the fireworks. Catherine sent a transmission to AC Ducey to QR, who was at the controls of the garrisons. "Cease fire! QR, cease fire!" Surprised at hearing Catherine's voice, QR disengaged the trigger on his control panel. The guns died down. Catherine sprang for Rick, leaping up high in the air. Sensing her approach and intent, Rick spun around to bring his gun to bear on Catherine, but he lost her for a split second as she was now coming down from above. He did not even get a shot off before she was on him. In the next instant, his rifle had been snatched from his hands and was now in Catherine's possession. He stared dumbfounded and watched her as she dropped his gun behind her, out of reach. "Rick McCabe, you are under arrest. Get down on your knees and put your hands behind your back." Rick gave a nervous smile. "For a second there, Catherine, I thought we were a team." "On your knees, Rick." Rick still had his pistol in its holster, a good weapon for close quarters such as this. But perhaps she would be expecting him to go for it. He thought of trying something even an android would not expect. "It's over, Rick. On your..." Rick lashed out in a desperate attack, striking out with a right-handed jab. He anticipated her block and then went for the body blow, but a second later, he found himself down on one knee, his left arm trapped. Catherine finalized her position by spinning to his rear and putting Rick in a rear naked chokehold, the infamous lion killer. "Give it up, Rick. It's over." Rick struggled to free himself, but knew that with a little more pressure, Catherine could easily put him to sleep. Catherine transmitted a message. "Killjoy to Angel 1. Jackrabbit is in custody. Hostiles neutralized. High Tower Zone now secure but is short-term. What is your ETA?" "We are closing in on High Tower, 2 minutes out." "Copy." Catherine looked over to AC Ducey and sent another transmission. "QR, exit your ship and surrender this instant." Inside the Deuce, QR froze at the controls. He thought about the garrisons, but seeing Catherine on Rick, he dismissed the idea. Catherine raised her voice. "QR, exit your ship immediately." QR considered her demand, but a movement on the rooftop caused him to stay in his seat and watch. He sent a reply. "Hello, Catherine. Before I surrender, may I say something? You might have the big gun, QR, but I am not willing to negotiate. You'd be killing Rick as well as me. I realize that, but I don't want to negotiate anything. I just want to say..." He waited for the right timing. "Watch your back." Catherine's brow knitted in puzzlement, unsure of what he was talking about. She thought for a second, then jumped off Rick and spun around. Just as a bolt of EMP energy shot into her, sending her to the floor. In the split second before her functions shut down, Catherine caught a glimpse of Odie holding Diggs's device in his hand, pointing in her direction.
Rick struggled to his feet and gazed at Catherine lying motionless on the floor. Her eyes were open, but no sign of life was in them. Bewildered, he looked up to see the bot standing before him. "Mr. McCabe, my name is Odie. You have 60 seconds to get away before she wakes up."